I'm going to start with a story that was collected by Irish folklorist Patrick Kennedy in about 1866. And the name of the folk tale is The Witch's Excursion, or by Yarrow and Rue. And it goes like this. Seamus Rua was a stodgy, stuffy old bachelor. He lived all alone in a big old house. He had a housekeeper, Madge, who would come to the house every day and do his cooking and cleaning and some laundry. Well, there was one night that Seamus was awakened from a deep sleep by the sound of laughter coming from the kitchen below. Thinking there must be intruders in the house, Seamus got up out of his bed and went over to the fireplace and grabbed an iron poker with which to defend himself. He went out the door, down the stairs, and up to the kitchen. He peered in, and there, to his amazement, there he saw his housekeeper, Madge, and two other old women he'd never seen before. Well, they were having a party. They were drinking his punch, they were eating his food, they were laughing and singing and telling stories. Well, that would have made a sailor blush. Well, Seamus's first impulse was to rush in and chase the old women out of the house with that poker, but his curiosity got the better of him. I wonder what these old women are up to at this hour of the morning, he thought. I'm going to wait and see how this little party is going to play out. Well, it didn't take long for the party to play out, for the punch ran out quite quickly. Madge, the housekeeper, she seemed to be the leader of the group, and she cried out, "'Tis time, 'tis time!" One of the old women went over to the fireplace, and on the hearth there were several red caps. She picked up a cap and put it on her head, and then she went over and picked up a stick that was leaning up against the fireplace. She mounted that stick like she was mounting a horse, and then she cried out, "By Yarrow and Rue and my red cap too, I wish I was in England," and whoosh up the chimney she flew. Well, the second old woman went over to the fireplace, grabbed another red cap, put it on her head, mounted another stick like a horse, and she too cried out, "By Yarrow and Rue and my red cap too, I wish I was in England," and whoosh up the chimney she flew. Well, it was Madge's turn, but before she could get to the fireplace, Seamus went in and grabbed her by the arm. "You deceitful old crocodile, you. If you're here when I come back, it'll be the worse for you." Seamus then proceeded to go and pick up the last red cap, put it on his head, grabbed the last stick that was sitting there, and he mounted the stick and he cried out, "By Yarrow and Rue and my red cap too, I wish I was in England," and whoosh up the chimney flew our Seamus. Came up out of the chimney and found himself flying at breakneck speed over the village. Pretty soon in the dark sky he was going faster and faster. Over the Wicklow Mountains he went, over the Irish Sea. Soon he was over the mountains of Wales and on into England. Now Seamus, he thought he was going to be battered to pieces when he found himself hurtling towards a huge wooden door that was attached to an even bigger castle. But just before he reached the door, he shrunk down to the size of a cockroach, and through the keyhole he went. Through the castle he went, flying faster and faster, down the cellar steps, up to another door and another keyhole. Through that keyhole he flew. Once past the second door, he found himself in the wine cellar of the castle, and he had resumed his normal size, and he saw sitting there the two old women from the kitchen, and they had continued the partying. They were sitting there drinking the wine. There must have been something in that red cap that imparted some mischievousness into our Seamus. Like I said before, he was a stuffy, stodgy old man. He had never sung a song in his life, never told a joke. But with that red cap on his head, it was Katie bar the door. He went over to one of the wine casks and poured himself a huge tumbler of wine. He then went over and he sat down with the two old women, and he started to sing songs. He started to tell stories that would have made a sailor blush. Oh, and the partying went on, and the drinking went on and on and on, until at last Seamus Rua passed out. The next thing Seamus knew, He was being rudely shaken awake by two of the castle's servants who had come down to fetch some wine for the lord of the castle. Well, they found Seamus sprawled out on the floor, empty tumblers of wine all about him. Well, they picked him up and they drug him back up those cellar steps, up through the castle into the dining hall, where the lord of the castle sat eating his breakfast. "My lord," said the servants, "my lord, we found the scoundrel that's been pilfering your wine these past months." The lord of the castle stood up and looked down at Seamus. "So, you're the thief that's been taking my expensive wine. Well, it will be the worse for you." Poor Seamus. He was on his knees, holding his head in shame, his aching head. "Oh, as soon as the gallows are built, you shall be hung." Hung, thought Seamus. Hung? How could this be? I can't be. Oh, no. Seamus, he tried to explain himself. He tried to tell them about the old women, the red caps, about how he had flown over the Irish Sea on a stick. But you know what? No one would believe him. Well, it didn't take long for Seamus to be dragged out of the castle, put into a cart, and then he was hauled through the town. People began to gather around, following Seamus up to the gallows. They were laughing and taunting poor Seamus, and Seamus thought, how could I be coming to an end like this? This can't be happening to me. At that moment, he heard an old woman calling out from the crowd, "Seamus! Seamus Rua! Now you can't be leaving a foreign land without that red cap on your head now, can you? You know that red cap that you love so well." The red cap, thought Seamus. Yes, I need the red cap. By this time he had reached the steps to the gallows, but before they could put the noose around his neck, he turned to the crowd and he said, "I am a dying man, and I have a dying man's parting wish. I wish for my red cap that's laying in the cellar of the castle. Oh, I love that red cap. I need that red cap. I cannot be leaving this earth without that red cap on my head." How could they deny How could they deny his last wish? Two servants were set, and the cap was brought to Seamus. He put it on his head, and then he proceeded to make a very elegant speech. "Let it be known to all who have ears that can hear that I am a proper Irishman, who was raised by proper Irish parents in a proper Irish home. And by Yarrow and Rua, my red cap too, I wish I was in Ireland." And whoosh, up Seamus flew into the sky like a rocket before the astonished eyes of the crowd. Once more, Seamus found himself flying back across the mountains of Wales, across the Irish Sea, back across the Wicklow Mountains, back to his own village, and right down into his chimney. Well, Seamus found himself there in the kitchen and realized no one was there. The house was empty. Exhausted, he climbed up the stairs back to his bedroom, laid down on the bed, took the red cap off and laid it on the nightstand, and fell fast asleep. Several hours later, he awoke, rolled over, and saw that red cap was not there, had disappeared. And eventually also found that his housekeeper, Madge, and those two other old women, they also had disappeared from the village, never to be seen again. From that day forward, Seamus tried to tell anyone who would listen about his adventures that night, about the old women, the red caps, about he had flown over the Irish Sea on a stick. But you know what? No one would believe him.